Time for a little What's More Likely on this Tuesday edition of Pro Football Talk Live. The rules are very simple. There is no third category. There is no middle ground. Shereen Williams last week tried to carve out a middle ground when we were doing this. No, it's one or the other. What is more likely? Let's start with Antonio Brown, Chris Simms. What's more likely? Antonio Brown is an issue all season, or everything is forgotten once the games start?
Well, I mean, I think if you make me pick here, I'm going to say everything.
I am making you pick.
Well, because I want to clarify it or to qualify it, but I'm going to say everything is forgotten once games start. I do think that once he gets healthy and gets out there, that, you know, statistics, yards, receptions, offensive explosive plays are all going to be good. So he's going to be happy. Gruden's going to be happy with his performance. And I err on that more than him being an issue all season long. But this is Antonio Brown. I mean, even with what I want to say is, like, forgotten once games start. I mean, we're going to have at least one thing with Antonio Brown during the year. There's no way we go the whole year and don't have one other thing.
But of the two, I think it is more likely that everything is forgotten once the games start, because I don't think Antonio Brown will be an issue all year long, because John Gruden won't be able to take Antonio Brown being an issue all year long. I mean, last year the blunder was trading away Khalil Mack, but he didn't have to deal with Khalil Mack in the building all year. This year, if the I told you so was you shouldn't have traded for Antonio Brown, there's a way to deal with it at some point, whether it's trading him to someone else, cutting him, trying to send him home with pay like he did with Keyshawn Johnson, although technically that's not permissible under the CBA, although if Antonio Brown would be fine with it, it wouldn't be any big deal. So I think between the two, Gruden doesn't let it be an issue all year. He can't deal with a full season of this. So, yes, he comes back, he plays games, and everything is fine, is the more likely of those two scenarios.
Yeah, that's a fair
Even though I agree with you, there's a middle ground in there that is probably more likely than either of those two.
No, but I think that's a fair point. You got to take into all accounts here that, yes, I mean, hey, we talked about it yesterday. John Gruden, this was his guy. He stood on a table for him. Even Mike Mayock, even if he didn't stand on a table for him, he's still part of this regime. They're going to do their best to quiet any little fires that are going on, because they want it to be perceived that things are, fine and dandy, and then there's no issues. So, I'm with you there as far as how the year goes and how they handle him in the situation.
Next up, what's more likely? Leonard Fournette says he has removed bad people from his life, Chris Simms. What's more likely? Leonard Fournette returns to his rookie form or becomes the next Trent Richardson?
Oh, I think it's returns to his rookie form. I really do. I'm still a believer in Leonard Fournette. His talents, I see them. Even last year, as underwhelming as the year was, it wasn't like Trent Richardson where I was going, man, he just doesn't look fast. He doesn't look explosive. Where did his acceleration go? I didn't have those issues watching Leonard Fournette last year. That was a Jaguar team that showed its immaturity last year. He acted a fool a few times and certainly was not professional, especially up there in Buffalo, running across the field, trying to get in a fight. But this guy is a physical freak, and I think it's back to the drawing board for the Jaguars, him, and he knows money's at stake for his future and his career. I think he gets back to his old form.
Yeah, I agree with you. And remember, the Jaguars went after his guaranteed money. They tried to void the last two seasons. That's still pending, but I think that got his attention. And also, the presence of Nick Foles. Do not discount what that influence will be. I think Nick Foles has an innate skill when it comes to creating the relationships necessary with all of the men he's going to be counting on to block for him, catch his passes, and run with the ball when he hands it to them. And he will have found a way by the time week one rolls around. In fact, I don't believe because I don't know, but I would assume he already has found a way to connect with Leonard Fournette and get him in the mindset to get the most out of his abilities. I think back to that freshman year at LSU and how great he was.
Right.
And we were all, we're on notice. Here comes the next big thing, and we've been waiting for it to emerge. Remember, this is the guy they drafted with Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson both on the board. This is his year to show that he's the guy, and I think Foles there is going to be one of the big difference makers. So I agree with you. It's more likely we see better than the rookie form than the new Trent Richardson.
I think so, too, especially with Nick Foles. Like you're saying, his first year, it was better than the statistics will say. I think he had like a 3.9 yards per carry average. But, that year when they went to the AFC Championship game, man, I mean, it was just ground and pound every play up the middle. There was no respect for the pass game by defenses. But let's, another thing, just to talk about his talents. Remember that year, he got clocked, as far as speed. I can't remember who does all that when when, they take the speed of a player on the field. His run against the Pittsburgh Steelers, nobody got clocked at like more or faster mile per hours. That's what kind of physical freak this guy. There's a reason he was picked in top 5, and he's had some leg injuries and all that. And I expect a big year from the Jags and him.
All right, Dak Prescott sets the quarterback market or doesn't get a new deal this year. What's more likely?
Gosh, if I'm going to pick out of those two, I'm going to say that he doesn't get a new deal this year. I just can't see, one, him really wanting to set the market. Two, we're hearing the Cowboys push back against setting the market. If they're not going to set the market with Ezekiel Elliott, who's led the NFL in rushing 2 out of the last 3 years and is the key to their offense, then, by God, they're not going to pay Dak Prescott more money than Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers and Ben Roethlisberger. I just don't see that happening. That wouldn't make sense to me. So if you make me pick one of the two, I'd say doesn't get a new deal this year.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Look, the bottom line is this. The Cowboys are not going to set the market with Dak Prescott. His only alternative then is to play out the season and force the Cowboys into the franchise tag dance. And that's the other thing to keep in mind here. What is his leverage, Chris? His leverage is don't sign a deal, get $25 million next year, $30 million the year after that. That's $55 million over 2 years. He's in no position to seek $40 million per year. He's in no position to set the market. So, yeah, it's far more likely he just doesn't do a contract. He starts down the franchise tag path come 2020 unless they sign him to a new contract after the season.
Yeah, and I think when all's said and done, if I had to read my crystal ball, it's somewhere just north of Carson Wentz. I would expect that to be the final deal, where new average money is just a hair above him because he's been to the playoffs twice and he's been healthy. I think that's kind of the marker I look at.
Well, the Cowboys need to blink on one of these deals. They need to get one of these deals done just to show people that, yes, they know how to negotiate with these players and they know how to craft a true win-win situation. All right, last one. What's more likely? The Cardinals offense leads the league in yards, or that offense gets figured out by week 8?
Oh, I got to go. They get figured out by week 8. I got to see the proof in the pudding. I got to see it to believe it first. I'm rooting for Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray. I certainly think they're going to have their moments. But my big question about Cliff Kingsbury, the offense, the Cardinals, all of that, is there enough inventory of offense? Do they have enough formations and concepts and everything like that to keep a defense honest? Hey, I respect college football, but it just ain't the NFL. Not with the 20-hour rule, not with professionals who have been playing for 8-10 years, all the coaching, all the intricate detailing. I err on more of the get figured out by week 8.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And again, we pick these categories deliberately to not let us stray into the middle ground. Although I think the middle ground in this one is a more likely outcome, that they could still have a very good offense that doesn't quite get figured out, but isn't leading the league in yards. I still think they're likely to get figured out. That's going to be the challenge. They're going to have an advantage early on until other defenses can see what it is they're doing, how they're using Kyler Murray, what to try to take away, what to try to force him to do that he may not like doing, and then then it all starts to potentially fall apart for the Cardinals.
Week 4, Mike. That'll play into exactly what you're saying, is figuring them out. To me, that was always, as a quarterback, when I worked in New England, that's when you start to get a picture of what teams are. Plus, you get 3 games before that to break down. And, of course, some tendencies start to show, teams' true DNA, how they want to play, all of that. I was always happy as a quarterback by, week 4 when I was a starter, because I went, oh, okay, all right. Now, we know what this defense is. I know what they like to do. I realize they're going to have a wrinkle or two for us, but you felt comfortable with what you were going to expect. That first week, second week of the year, man, you don't know. I mean, coaches are sandbagging it in the preseason, and then all of a sudden they send the kitchen sink week 1, and you go, what the hell was that? So I would expect it around that week 4 or week 5 time to see if it's the true test of whether this is going to be legit or are they going to start to get figured out.
Very interesting week 1 matchup. Matt Patricia brings the Lions to Arizona for the Kyler Murray official NFL debut. By the way, expect to see more of him on Thursday night than we saw last Thursday night as they get deeper into the preseason. It'll be a nationally televised game against the Oakland Raiders, so can't wait to see what Murray does. Preseason, can't wait to see what he does regular season.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.